Streaming studio from Live Now. Good to see you.
Yes, happy Friday. We are locked in.
Yes, and Desiree Fluellen as well. Good morning.
Good
and
to be
for
here.
Ron, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And we are also want to bring you, of course, we're going to pop up the poll question for you because it does have to do with, of course, the big meeting with President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. There is your YouTube question. And do you think Trump and Putin's meeting today could lead to peace and an end to the war? 15% of you say maybe. 66% of you say no, Putin does not want peace. And 19% of you say yes. We do have a number of comments, and we'll get to that in just a brief moment. Here is our other poll question of the day. And 63% of you say yes, I think Trump will get through to Putin. 37% of you say no, Putin does not want peace. So please share your thoughts on this right here. And thank you to everybody who is waiting in the wait room just for the Fox 10 Talks FTT to begin. So we are talking about this morning, of course, the crazy storm activity that we've had.
I know.
Did you hear it last night?
Oh, did I hear it? It woke me up, woke up my little Scotty dog, and we were watching the lightning display for about an hour. I mean, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. Did you? Oh, me? My turn? I was like, I didn't know if you were going to say anything else.
No.
Yeah, we were talking about it before Syleste walked in. I'm like, it woke D3 up at about 2 a.m, so that was fun. And then the twins woke up, and then baby Demi woke up. So I had to leave my husband at 3 a.m. with all the kids wide awake. So it was really loud.
Yeah, it was pretty loud. And I think for all of you in the chat box, let us know where you're watching from and if you heard it or it woke you up in the middle of the night. I think Linda Monterth, good morning to you. Dave Brousseau, Louis Gonzalez, Charles David says we finally got the monsoon in Chandler. What part of the valley do you live in, Mike?
Queen Creek now.
In Queen Creek.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a booming, bustling part of town.
It has exploded in the last couple of years. It really has.
I'll be really jealous if you say you got a nice, beautiful new build.
I did.
I got one.
Good for you. Good for you. I know all over the state we had a lot of rain. Let's go right to some of our video that we have here this morning. And it shows you some of the activity. So this is one of the hardest hit parts of town. This is up near around Tatum and Bell Road. And there was so much rain that fell. So lots of people woken up in the middle of the night because of the monsoon and lots of rain and winds really coming down. This may be the part of the valley that received the largest amount of rain. And I pulled up the weather maps, and so we'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. But this is also where they had trees down and a shed. Like a shed just picked up off the ground.
That.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to worry, too, about those trampolines that people have in the backyard.
Yes.
Those could get lifted really easy.
Yeah, there's a good tip there. Stick the trampoline in the ground. You can do that now. Put the trampoline in the ground.
And secure the pool umbrellas. Ooh, I learned my lesson the hard way one year.
Oh, yeah?
We totally forgot it was left open, and it like almost snapped in half. So
well, they'll end up at the bottom of the pool.
Or
also,
that.
Yeah. And then somebody's got to jump in and dig it out, and it's not that easy to do. Patricia Randolph says we finally got some rain in Rio Rico. Fantastic lighting show. And Charles David says he loves the photos and the videos. Lisa Dinsmore, good morning to you. She says good morning to all of us here.
Morning,
and
Lisa.
Linda Monter says storms have been mostly avoiding us here in Safford, but it's all around us. And USA on top, are you new to the chat? If you're new, let us know where you're watching from, and we appreciate you. Says the rain was so nice last night. Are you guys fans of the rain?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here I am. Yeah, for sure. We need a little of it.
And I think it's kind of funky. Like sometimes we have situations where, if you're in Seattle, my husband's from Seattle, north of Seattle, it's like, okay, enough of the rain, but we don't get enough here.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
I've never been to Seattle. What is it? Is it really wet and humid and moist? Brian, who's that? Brian laughing at me or Dave?
Big D. Okay, Big D. I'm going to pull your camera up.
Is it literally raining every day there?
Well, Dave is from there.
Okay, Dave.
So is Bella. Okay, what is Seattle like?
Seattle, I would describe it as constantly dreary dreary.
Really?
So it's not necessarily always pouring. There's just a light drizzle, lots of clouds. It's not anything like it is here in the Phoenix area.
Bella, what about you? What are your thoughts?
If you've seen Grey's Anatomy or Twilight, it's depicted very well.
Yeah,
It's
so
very
true.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Those
You know, my
depictions are
husband
accurate.
likens it to when you have like a drippy nose. And it's not a full-on cold, but it's just like he's like it's just a light. It's just constantly a drip. He's like that's the annoying type of rain that Seattle brings you.
yuck.
But yeah, we have a lot of people, a lot of transplants from Seattle who live here in the valley. So maybe you got this rain and you're thinking, I don't know. But we've had a really hot summer, and so finally we're getting a little bit of rain. And I know a lot of you, Casey Wright. Good morning to you. And yeah, it has been a while. It's good to see you in here again. Let's see. Big D and Bella, Louis Gonzalez says. So good morning. We're so glad. Eric says cloudy, gloomy with constant light drizzle. And yeah, let us know if you guys, are experiencing any crazy weather. The storm system is actually still moving through like the Flagstaff area and north of there through Page, Arizona. We'll drift up north to that
So this is
Arizona,
really
Utah.
hanging out for a while.
Just for a little bit in the higher elevations, not in the valley. The valley is nice and sunny right now.
Yeah.
But when you're walking into work this morning, Mike comes in at,
We're
around
jealous
6
of him.
o'clock. But, it was even nice when, we popped in at like 4 a.m. It was nice.
And you know what I loved about this area, Arizona, when it does rain? I mean, like it's an event, right? Everyone like comes out, they're like
They
want to
do.
film it and stuff.
I'm so glad you brought that up because we're going to go ahead and show this piece of video of the lightning. We received so many pictures and videos of lightning over the last, let's just say 12 hours or so, because it was around 9 p.m. when we started to see. And so I believe this is video of lightning that we'll start to see pop up here in the screen, kind of start flash right there for a little bit. But, some of you have been sharing a lot of your videos. You can do that on our Fox 10 weather app, by the way. It goes straight to us and we can just then share that. But you're right, Mike. I think when you see people kind of come out of their shell
They do.
and you get to meet your neighbors, right?
It's like a rain dance come through, for the people.
Yeah.
You're right. It's like the first time you meet your neighbors after 5 years of living on the block.
Yeah, because I mean it's so hot that people are just like hermits, right? In the summer, you just go in and like shut the door and that's it.
Yeah, it is one of those things. I remember our neighborhood was hit by a microburst and we lost power in our house for 5 days. And I remember it was right around like this time of year, actually, like maybe Labor Day. And I remember like all the neighbors, if you had a gas stove, were cooking up big pots of like soup and chili, and everybody was hanging out outside and eating, on our front patios and things like that. But you do get to know your neighbors when crazy stuff happens because you're like, oh my gosh, I had like the shed that popped up in the middle of the road up at Bell and like 32nd Street. You're like, whose shed is this? And what do we do with it now?
Yeah.
It's just sitting there.
Wow.
But yeah, let me bring you that video up again, and it shows you some of the lightning that's striking up above the city. But it has been crazy as well.
Jen's Walls in the chat. Funny. She says, yes, my rain dance did work. I mean, we were talking about manifestation when Anita, if you watch us in the morning, the early hours, she was like, dead set on getting a 90-degree day in July. And she got one of those. And then we, joked about doing a rain dance. And here it is.
Either that or somebody washed their car.
Yeah.
Because it actually worked in the valley. Jen's Wall said just took 24 hours. Husky Mom, good morning to you. And Darla, good morning to you. You're here in Brandy the Bookworm. Thank you so much for sharing part of your mornings and your days with us. Let's get right to this piece of video that we have. So we had slick roads on the roadway. Mike, you're from Illinois, right? Chicago.
Yes.
You get storm systems and rain and things like that in Chicago. Do people, what are the roads like when it rains there in Chicago?
See, I feel though back home area, people are more used to the rain, okay? So
Yes.
they don't drive maybe as fast still. I think still out here, people are still, not used to maybe, it takes me longer to break now, and I got to give myself a little bit more time.
Yes.
And the problem is with so much of the oil that's on the roads,
right,
that's what's causing people to slide.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know what it was about this semi that went, turned over. We don't know the situation, what happened, but there was a lot of situations on our roadways last night with all of the rain that fell in the evening hours. And, unfortunately, this situation happened. It was a semi truck that rolled over on the southbound lanes of the I-17 near Happy Valley. Again, the North Phoenix area. Like, this is where and so I think the National Weather Service is looking into whether or not this could have been a potential microburst. In the chat, let us know, have you ever experienced a microburst? That's what we experienced when we were we had lost power for 5 days. Bobby Joe, good to see you. Good morning. And Bobby Joe says, I was awakened by the storm in Mesa, Arizona. And yeah, me too. And in central Phoenix, and Desiree as well. And Mike, we're all kind of in the same boat because this storm system moved through pretty quick. And Big D, Brandy has a question for you. Did you get that picture I sent? Yeah, she has it. We're going to show some of your photos as well coming up in a little bit, but it can get slick out there.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that, like how drivers are in different parts of the country. Me being from Buffalo, I mean, you can see someone driving down the road in a beat up Chevy or something in 2-3 feet of snow, and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
In the rain, no big deal for us. But when I spent time in Nashville, any little bit of rain or even a dusting of snow that they got, it would melt before it hit the ground, but everyone was freaking out. So it is funny to see like the difference. After you've lived different places.
We have the storm system like that's pretty wild, brings in lots of rain and things like that. But then it brings in something like this. With our Crystal Ortiz, our meteorologist, a couple of weeks ago went over kind of like the science behind the sun rises and the sun sets and what's in the atmosphere that causes these vibrant, colors to just boom. But we had this gorgeous sunset and it was so beautiful last night. So Mother Nature, of course, creating this, kicking up dust, got to see the gorgeous, vibrant sunset. And this is from our South Mountain Tower Cam. So there actually is kind of like we haven't shown it, recently, but there's like a viewing deck up there by our towers, a little drive. And so, maybe you're taking a drive up to South Mountain. This is what you saw.
I mean, that's a Bob Ross painting right there.
I know, right?
Pretty clouds. You were thinking
pretty
painting,
clouds,
and I was thinking it looks like some really delicious, like sherbet ice cream or something.
Both creamsicle.
Yeah,
it is so beautiful. We have had some great videos, and Mr. Pavoline says we are on our way to Flagstaff. Be careful, buddy. I think you have some slick roads up in our higher elevations. Darla says we need some storms here, some rain in Golden Valley. It always goes completely around us and circle never over us. So no, I think it's you and Safford. They need some rain there. But let's go ahead and go right to the mystery camera this morning. And where is this? Share your thoughts in the chat box. We'll be right back with more on your forecast after the break. Okay, mics are hot. All right, welcome back, everyone, this morning at 10:15. And this is your mystery camera this morning. Where do you all think this is? What are your thoughts?
I would be cheating.
Oh, you know it.
I do.
Okay.
And so does Patricia.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
Patricia's
I won't look.
No, wait, don't look. Oh, wait, don't look. Yeah, sorry.
I won't look.
Don't look.
Has
Don't
it
look in the
right.
comments yet.
I was going to guess Charlotte.
Okay.
Okay, that's actually a good guess. I've been to Charlotte, and the downtown Charlotte area looks a little like that. I was just going to say Minneapolis. Patricia always gets this right. Would you like to do the honors,
All
my
right,
friend?
here we go.
All right, let's go. Mike Pace doing the honors this morning.
Oh, look.
Buffalo, New York.
Mike.
She had an advantage, folks.
I did.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Desiree's-
Dean.
Desiree's hometown.
This is home.
Nice.
Yes, very cool.
Yeah, that's like one of, most of downtown Buffalo is like very, very historic, but that's the M&T Savings Bank, and it's got that big golden dome, but inside it's like golden too, and it's like one of the
Wow.
most like Instagrammed and photographed buildings in Buffalo. It's just, it's really beautiful.
That's
City Hall is
cool.
down there, and yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's like I felt like I was cheating today. Thanks, Dean. That was
we
nice.
got a
It
little,
looks like a nice day in Buffalo. They deserve some good weather.
It does look like a nice day out there. And welcome back. So this morning we are talking about, let's throw up our poll question. Of course, a big topic of the day is, of course, the meeting between President Donald Trump and, of course, the Russian President Putin in Alaska. Both of them are making their way there. And so this is one of our poll questions. We have two. Let's go over those before we welcome a very special guest in to give us some insight into this. So, Mike, would you like to go over the first one?
Yes. So leading right now at 53% is yes, I think President Trump will get through to Putin. So that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me throw up the YouTube. Desiree, would you like to do this one?
Yeah, and then when we look at the YouTube poll here, 19% think, yes, I think Trump will get through to Putin. Meanwhile, we've got 66%, so that's more than half the vote here, of folks that believe, no, Putin does not want peace just yet. And then that obviously leaves 15% of our voters. They're kind of like that maybe line, but Ukraine obviously needs to be involved in the discussions.
All right, 613 votes on that one. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. The link to the YouTube poll is at the very top of the chat box. We have a very special guest, and throw your questions in here with him if you'd like to ask any questions. We have welcome back Professor Muel Alexive this morning, Professor of Political Science at San Diego State University. Welcome back. You did such a wonderful job, and we appreciated your insight earlier in the week. Thank you for coming back. We're getting ready, of course, to kind of watch the developments happening in Alaska. What are your thoughts on what we can expect here today coming out of this meeting? I think we have a little bit of 1 second. I believe we're trying to get your audio up. Oh, there we go. We got it. Okay, go ahead, my friend.
All right, good with you. There's a why.
I think we may have a little bit. We may be having some Wi-Fi issues or audio issues.
Big D.
Are we working on that back there? Okay.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi looks good on our end, at least. We want to make sure that we hear you correctly. So what we can do as well is, I wonder if we can give him a phone call, maybe call him and we can get his audio up. Yeah, I don't need you to give me your digits on YouTube right now.
Yeah, don't put that out on the web.
If you want to reach out to Dave and give him your cell phone number, we can kind of get you on a cell phone so we can get your voice at least on. That would be great. Let's go ahead back to this, and while we're working on that, I think
isn't that fun though when that happens? You question as a news anchor, you question like, wait a minute, it's my earpiece. What's wrong with it? Or whatever, you know? And you wait for someone else to respond, and you're like, nobody does, and you're like, okay, wait, that's everybody.
It is the beauty though of live streaming, live TV.
Yeah.
Kind of, you're like, okay, well, you know, there's an anticipation of the conversation.
Will the connection hold? You know?
right. The stuff you see here, you don't necessarily get to see when we're on set in the studio.
Right.
So
Houston, we have a problem. No, we're fixing it, and we'll get him on the line here in a quick minute. But we've been the world is watching right now, and I think it's maybe President Trump was hoping to make it easy on him because Alaska's so close to Russia. Going, hey, all you got to do is do a puddle jump there over the ocean, and we'll meet there, we'll talk there. But it's one of those conversations I think the world really wants to know what's going to come out of it.
I know. So, I mean, it started off today with President Trump right before leaving on Air Force One, putting there on Truth Social saying high stakes. So, he's setting this up as this big event. Obviously, it's going to be big. And but the main takeaway, though, I think is a lot of people are going to be looking at is this joint news conference that's going to happen after this meeting. Yeah. Now, Russia, the Russia spokesperson says that they expect this meeting before the joint news conference to last anywhere from 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah, so true.
Wow.
I believe we have, Mikhail, can you hear me okay, my friend? Yes, I'm going to put you on speaker and put your phone up here if you don't mind. Okay, give me your thoughts, if you can, on what we can expect coming out of this meeting. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a wide range of options. And in essence, the interesting thing about the survey that you showed is, I've been doing surveys for more than a quarter of a century, fielding them, analyzing them. The problem with those questions is that they're not mutually exclusive options. Putin may not necessarily want peace, or at least he wouldn't want peace on the terms that would recognize Ukrainian rights to most of the territory, but President Trump can still get through to him, and he can still be persuasive, and he can still make a very strong representation and make Putin change his mind and do different things. So a lot will depend on how this conversation goes. I think we have seen some moves on the part of President Trump that probably make Putin think twice, like the threat to reposition U.S. nuclear submarines closer to Russia, the slapping of 25% tariffs on India for purchasing Russian energy, putting pressure on China not to buy Russian oil and gas in the amounts that they do. And those are the kinds of signals, I think, that would keep Putin thinking twice about continuing to oppose the 30-day ceasefire proposal of President Trump, to which Ukraine already agreed.
Mikhail, that's such great info, and I think a lot of people also want to know, what does President Trump have to walk away with after this joint news conference to really maybe start to put at ease our European partners, Ukraine? What do they need to hear coming out of this joint news conference that would give some ease to the world a little bit?
I think the best possible outcome would be if Putin agrees at least to some part of that 30-day ceasefire proposal that President Trump put on the table a long time ago. That would give, I think, everybody a big sigh of relief, because it will mean the killing stops, it will mean the political process can start, and the destruction of Ukraine stops, the bombing of civilians stops, and we can be then on a totally different playing field, and hope then can emerge.
Do you think that this meeting will last, let's say, I don't know, more than an hour? How long do you think this? What kind of time are we looking at when you look at two of these world leaders meeting and talking about some of these important issues?
This is something I would not be willing to predict, because a lot will depend on how the first hour of the conversation goes. We know that President Trump is a very astute negotiator. Putin, of course, is also a skillful manipulator of people. But I think Donald Trump has known Putin for a long time. If he feels in the first hour that Putin, as Trump mentioned before, keeps tapping him along, then the meeting can be very short. If there is a possibility, if Putin puts something serious on the table in the first hour, then the conversation can continue. So a lot depends on what will happen in that first hour or so. And I think that's probably why the White House has been saying that they expect the summit to be about an hour, but they opened it up for further possibilities. But they don't want to commit to, say, 6 or 7 hours of conversation.
So we have a question from our chat box on YouTube from Michael Lewis. He says, why would Putin make any concessions? Russia are making gains on the ground, and the U.S. has signaled that Ukraine has to give up land to end the war. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is absolutely true. Putin has not much incentive to stop the fighting, given the situation on the battlefield. However, if he sees that the United States is going to strongly support Ukraine, if the United States can undertake moves on the international arena, such as that I mentioned before, with repositioning global naval capabilities, with secondary economic sanctions, then Putin may feel that in the long run, he's not going to prevail. So the task is, and it's an uphill task, is to give Putin some kind of message that he cannot outlast America and Ukraine and their allies.
All right. And Professor, we have another question in our chat room this morning from Brandy the Bookworm. Her question is, do you think that security is going to be maybe more elevated, more so than normal, because this is a meeting with President Putin?
Yes. In fact, I just saw a report from the BBC that the bus with journalists who were supposed to cover the summit had been stuck for 3 hours, checking cameras, checking all kinds of equipment to make sure that the security is guaranteed at the summit.
Well, Professor Mikhail Alexive, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it. You have been a wealth of knowledge. We, on a different topic, are seeing lots of rain here. What's it look like in San Diego? Look at you working at San Diego State. That's a sweet gig.
Favorite weather. It's kind of the continuation of June gloom, so the sun doesn't reflect off my computer screen and I can do a lot of work.
We thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you being available for us. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. I think that he, along with a lot of other people, are looking forward to maybe seeing what comes out of it and how long this meeting actually lasts.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break in a quick moment and give you another beautiful shot here from around the country. We'll be right back. welcome back, everyone. 10:30 here on your Friday. A beautiful shot here of New Orleans, Louisiana. I believe Tulane University. They're having a big. They're moving in. They're at Tulane. Great university. I have some friends who have some their children. They're checking them in. There's lots of tears going to be happening once they leave New Orleans and head back to Phoenix. That is for sure. And yeah, some of you are chiming in the chat and you're saying, hey, yeah, that's such a beautiful. And Patricia, you're right. That is Louisiana. Absolutely. We need to do a live Zoom with Patricia Randolph.
Yeah, we just need to throw up a whole bunch of different cameras all across the country and do like a fast quiz with her because I'm impressed.
I know. And it's
How
fast.
is she figuring this out?
I think she might be a geography major.
Have you visited all like 50 states or like what's going on?
She let me in on a little bit of her secret, but I'm not going to
you're not going to spill it. Okay,
yeah, she knows. She knows. Patricia, I got your back, sister. I'm your co-pilot. All right. And as we continue on the show this morning, we're so appreciative that so many of you are chiming in and asking really, really thoughtful questions. Let's get back to our big story here as the world is watching this meeting between Trump and Putin. And your poll question of the day, do you think Trump and Putin's meeting today could lead to peace and an end to the war? 48% of you say yes. I think Trump will get through to Putin. 44%. So this one nearly split right now.
Yeah, it's tightening up.
Yeah, really. No, Putin does not want peace. Numbers are shifting here as we're going about the show. 41%. Do you want to go ahead, Mike, and chat about this one?
Yes. So for the YouTube poll here, we got 19% at yes, I think Trump will get through to Putin. 66% say no, Putin does not want peace, and 15% maybe, but Ukraine needs to be involved in these discussions. So on both polls, really, they don't mind that Ukraine is out of it.
Yeah, and this is
discussions.
Yeah, this is It's interesting when you take a look at how many people are 613 votes right now and counting. But it's interesting when you look at sometimes this poll differs from the other.
Yeah, right, right.
It's different people, different audiences, and things like that. And so, do we want to go, Big D? Are we good to go yet?
Yeah, we're good to go with Rick.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. This morning, we're talking about the big story happening in the Lone Star State, and we are going to be chatting with Rick Levy. He's the president of the Texas AFL-CIO, a position he was elected in 2017. And listen to this. As president, Rick focused on helping build a broader, bolder, and more inclusive labor movement, emphasizing and elevating the principle of solidarity to be at the core of the effort. And so he has done a lot of work with labor unions there in Texas this morning. Let's get right to Rick this morning. Rick, good morning. It's good to see you, my friend. One second. I think we're working on our on the Wi-Fi, on the audio. Can you hear us okay? Count to 10 for me if you can.
3, 9, 10.
Okay, it's kind of cutting in and out. We may have to call you as well. Big D. Don't give us your digits, though, on YouTube, Rick, unless you want a whole lot of people calling you tonight. We're gonna go ahead and work on getting you that really information. Choppy. In the meantime, Dave, thank you so much, Big D. Thank you for your help with that and getting him on the phone. You all in Live Now have been covering this extensively, and we were just chatting about it moments ago. But it's like, it's the only profession where people can like walk out and still get paid.
Yeah,
at least for a small amount of time.
At least for a little bit.
Right, yeah. And it's like they go all over the country, too, flaunting that they're not in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another reason, It's like, oh, they're in California. Oh, Illinois, Massachusetts.
Yeah. It's like if you were to leave work and walk out and go, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling work today. I'm just going to leave. And then you're on the beach. And you're like, hey, right. I'm on the beach. And I'm at the museum or wherever. Okay, we do have Rick here on the phone. Rick, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. We got you loud and clear, buddy. Give us your thought on the Texas redistricting issue and where it stands today.
Well, what's going on in Texas is something that we've never seen in this country before, which is you had a president decide that he wanted 5 more Republican votes in Congress. And so he reached out to his friends here in Texas and said, I need 5 seats, make it happen. And unfortunately, our state leaders knuckled to that kind of request and have initiated a special session to redraw the maps in the middle of the decade, which is unprecedented in a situation like this, simply to increase the Republican advantage in Congress.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, this battle has been going on, and we just saw that Governor Greg Abbott today reissuing, a new special session here. How many times can the governor continue to re-up these special sessions to try to get the Democrats back in?
He can do it as many times as he wants to. It's totally his call, unreviewable by anybody. He can call the legislators into special session as many times as he wants. But the thing that I think is really galling to so many of us is when Donald Trump lost the first time in 2020, and he called down to the Secretary of State in Georgia, and he said, I need 11,000 more votes. You need to find me 11,000 more votes. And the Republican Secretary of State there said, hey, that's a bridge too far. We do have a democracy, and people's votes should matter. And so they did not do that. And here this governor is just putting the entire apparatus of the state. He's slicing and dicing communities across the state simply to comply with this request to have a political advantage in D.C. And that's something that's really unacceptable.
And what happens, in your opinion, if Governor Abbott cannot get this done? I mean, then what? Well, if Governor Abbott cannot get this done, then we still exist with, a very significant Republican majority in Texas. But at least it's the maps that were based on the census that were done in 2020. If they do get it done here, then I think what you're seeing, because the Democrats did leave the state and break quorum and elevate this to a national issue, which is, this is really no longer a Texas issue. This is now a national issue, because what they've done is they've triggered a redistricting war. They are now we see places like California, New York, Chicago, or Illinois looking at saying, look, if they're going to try and rig the game, that's not the way we do things, but we're not going to sit by and let our government get hijacked by these billionaires who just want to rig the rules in their favor.
So do you think then, you mentioned these other states, we could see a lot of other states then, redrawing the lines, and then it becomes kind of this a wave of, a national movement where many states and many of these state lawmakers are making a lot of these changes?
Yeah, which is so unfortunate, because all that does is add to the polarization. Mm-hmm. All that does is drive Americans apart from each other. And why are we doing it? It's because one person wants to avoid accountability for some really, really unpopular things, like transferring, the highest transfer of wealth from working class people to billionaires in the history of the world with this bill that they just passed, or knocking millions of people off of health care, or eliminating collective bargaining for millions of federal workers. I mean, it's like, that stuff is not popular. And so typically when you do unpopular things, you have to face the voters. And what he's trying to do is make it to where people don't have to face the voters. And that's a really dangerous thing.
I think it's really unfortunate as well, because I think when you look at the different issues affecting states, and their constituents within their certain districts and counties, there's a lot of issues that are being put to the side. They're being put on the back burner because this issue now has been so elevated. What are your thoughts on that? And are there other issues in Texas that need to be addressed that aren't right now because this is being done?
That's one of the most important questions that I think anybody can answer right now, because unfortunately in Texas, people probably heard, we had devastating floods. We've had hundreds of people dead. We've had people still searching for loved ones, people's lives shattered. And at a time like that, what leadership and real leadership is bringing people together to solve those problems, to figure out what can we do to support these families? How can we get people back on their feet again? And yet, what's happening in Texas is this effort that now driving people apart, dividing people based on the political fortunes of one man. And it's frankly offensive. And I think that, we're seeing now more and more of these victims of the flood saying, why are you doing all of this political BS? When what we really need is to get down about solving problems. And I think that your question, why aren't we focused on getting people health care? Why aren't we focused on getting people jobs that actually pay them enough to live? Why are we not focused on all the ways that people get nickel and dime by fees and all the things that just continue to steal from the pockets of working people? Why can't we get around that stuff and stop with the political game? Because people lose faith in the system. I mean, if they haven't already lost it, you look at this and you're like, damn, that's this is just all politics. Why would I want to get involved with that? When in reality, politics is how we come together and write the rules, solve the problems, and get people's needs met.
Yeah, that should be the case for sure. We have a question in the chat box.
Yeah, Michael Lewis is asking you here in the chat, asking, is Governor Greg Abbott working within the law or is he breaking the law?
I would say he is breaking the law. He is working within the law to call as many special sessions as he wants. That's his prerogative as the governor. Where he's working outside the law is by working to gut the Voting Rights Act, by drawing these lines. Like if you look at these maps, these lines, I live in Austin, Texas, right? This new map draws a little bitty line that connects me and my district in Austin, Texas, to the folks in East Texas. That's like hundreds of miles. I have nothing in common with those people, but it's all done for the simple purpose of ensuring a political outcome. And the districts that are targeted are districts that are held by Black and brown Texans. Where Black and brown Texans, because of the Voting Rights Act, have been able to elect representatives that will fight for them in Washington. I think that what really shows the lie of what's going on is that Syleste Turner, who is an African-American congressman from Houston, died about a year ago. And this is the seat that was held by Barbara Jordan, the first African-American woman to ever serve in Congress from Texas. And that seat has remained vacant because the governor refused to even appoint a replacement or set an election for a replacement for that seat until next November, which means that those folks in that community have gone over a year without having a representative. And that's offensive and that's wrong. But he doesn't care about folks in communities like that. And in fact, they've drawn maps to target those very seats. And so, yes, he is violating the law by trying to pass a map that directly undercuts the Voting Rights Act and trying to get that issue to the courts so that they can get rid of that requirement to respect Black and brown voters once and for all. Well,
Rick Levy is the president of the Texas AFL-CIO this morning, joining us from Austin, Texas. Great city, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. Got a lot of good barbecue there in Austin. Okay. Have a great day, and we appreciate your time.
I appreciate y'all.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Thank you so much. All right, welcome back, everyone. Okay, this is a trick question, but what city is this?
Looks like Anita's home.
Yes,
Chicago.
Chi-Town. Yes, I know. Welcome back, everyone. And we're so glad that many of you have decided to stick with us. And Dave Rousseau, yes, we are moving on from politics, my friend, on this Friday. I think that, I believe Brandy the Bookworm, I'm going to read one of your comments because I totally agree. And this goes along with what Dave had to share as well. Isabella joins us now. Good morning, Bella.
Good
to
morning.
see you.
I love your curls.
Oh,
Yeah, and
thank
you're
you.
dressed super
So
cute.
good.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So Brandy the Bookworm and I think Dave were both talking about how moving on from the politics it's
Yeah,
very
Dave
difficult.
said I'm done with that
It's
for
very
today.
difficult to have those conversations. And Brandy says, I feel the same. I just don't like to talk politics with people, my boyfriend and a couple of family members, but that's about all I'll talk politics with. People get too heated. And it is one of those things that's you get so heated at times. Quick glance at our poll question on YouTube, and it's at the very top of the chat if you'd like to share your thoughts on that. We'll revisit that in a little bit, but we have a really cool interview to bring you. Steve Thacher, CEO of Activated Events, joins us now on the phone this morning, and we get to see your face as well, my friend, via Zoom. We're having some issues with our audio, but we're going to bring you up here so we can see you with your cool Activated hat. Good morning. Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing well, thank
Great.
you. Tell us about this party in the park.
Yeah, so Party in the Park happening Saturday, November 8th at Gilbert Regional Park. It is the first Party in the Park in Arizona. Brought to you by Kiss FM. And speaking none other than Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305 Pitbull himself.
It's a great lineup from what I've seen. How exciting.
Can you run through the lineup? So obviously Pitbull is headlining.
Yeah, Pitbull's headlining, but of course you have Shaggy, who's a headliner in his own right.
Say it wasn't me.
Shaggy,
Say it wasn't
shaggy,
me.
shaggy, shaggy.
Throwing back with Genuine, Yin Yang Twins, Baby Bash, Mims, and more still to be announced.
Yeah, that's a huge lineup that you guys have. And I think it's like perfectly tailored, I think, to the audience that you want, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what's better than going to Gilbert Regional Park in the beautiful weather in November, being outdoors, drinking some craft cocktails and beers, and having barbecue and various craft food vendors, and watching guys like Pitbull and Shaggy perform from a stage that you're right up front and center at.
And why did you guys, how did you select Gilbert Regional Park? I love it. I mean, you get my vote for that. I'm always out there with the kids. But it's like now becoming a really hot destination spot in the East Valley. I mean, we've seen barbecue events. We're having lots of country concerts out there. And now this.
Yeah, so we're actually the ones that put the country concerts on. So we also bring you Boots in the Park and the KNAX Smoke Show. We've been doing those for a number of years at Gilbert Regional Park.
Oh, that is you.
We
Okay.
do other genres of music and other markets, and we just thought it was time to bring Pitbull to Gilbert Regional Park.
Well, tell us about yourself. What is Activated, and are you based here in the Valley or are you out of state?
Yeah, so Activated Events, and we've been producing large-scale events. This is actually our 16th season. We have a number of different brands, Party in the Park being our newest one. We also did Fiesta de Taco at Tempe Beach Park. Boots in the Park. We've been doing Wet Electric there for many, many years. But we're located all over. We're from Southern California, but we have employees in Arizona. We have employees. I personally live in Nashville. I'm in Southern California. We have a show this weekend. So we're all over, but we do a lot in Arizona.
Is there one show or one artist that you feel, you've really enjoyed the most, or something that, like, what's your jam? When you work all these events, you plan them all, and this is a big deal and a big gig, and kudos to all of you for being able to put this big lineup together.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a really hard question. After 16 years, we've worked with so many great artists, guys like Thomas Rhett and Tim McGraw and Brooks and Dunn and Blake Shelton and so many more. We had Pitbull last weekend in Albuquerque along with Blake Shelton. Actually, the first time I met Pitbull, and I got to tell you, he is such a nice guy. I mean, genuinely a nice guy. And when he comes on stage and he turns it on, it's electrifying. And it just has the entire crowd going with him the entire time. Plus, you look out in the crowd, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but the bald caps.
Yes.
You guys familiar with that?
Yes.
That's a thing. Dressed up like Pitbull with their bald caps on.
Oh, that is funny.
You know, coincidentally, you're talking about him being a nice guy, and he's we have video of him just shaking hands with the little kids, you know, who are popping in, which I think is so important.
That's good to know.
How crazy though, him and Blake Shelton. You get to see the mix and match with some of the most, I guess, unassuming artists, but they're great together.
You know, and they were on separate nights. Pitbull was on Friday, Blake was on Saturday. But believe it or not, they actually have a song together that they put together a number of years ago by playing another festival that they were both on the same day. That's happened a lot of times. The Smoke Show, which I said we also do at Gilbert Regional Park, we have tomorrow here in Southern California. We have Chris Young and Chris Jansen both headlining. I had them on one of our shows many years ago, and because of that show, we ended up going on tour together the next year. So funny things happen when you put artists together, you know?
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Smoke Show, because I don't know if you can see FTT right now, but Desiree and Bella and I, we've got your Smoke Show right here on a Friday.
Ah, she went there.
I saw that at the beginning, yes.
That actually is a great name for a show, because, you know, I mean, you're rocking on.
Absolutely. We thought it was very fitting for the greater Phoenix market for sure.
Okay. And Steve, I have a question for you, because I appreciate the general admission ticket price point, or at least that starting point. And I have always wondered, like, it is, first of all, I know it's a massive undertaking to put on events like this, so large with these names. How are you able to balance that? Like a decently priced ticket, especially in today's economy,
$59,
right? Mixed with a headliner like Pitbull, who I'm sure, you know, it comes at a steep price. Like, how are you able to combine someone like him and such an amazing lineup and give us a ticket that, you know, is really going to be worth our money for the night?
Well, you're exactly right. Like I said, he's a very nice guy, but he's not a cheap guy. I'll tell you that much. He commands a hefty price, but he's well worth it with the performance that he puts on. Tickets are starting at $59 if you sign up for pre-sale. I think those are going to go very quickly and then, you know, go up from there. But with any one of our shows, we really try and keep it very affordable, family friendly. You know, family of four can come out and still afford it, and, you know, still have all the other fun elements of the event as well. I mean, we didn't even talk about, we have the Cactus Cantina that we bring out, which is over 101 different tequilas that we're going to feature. We're building a line dancing tent because people love line dancing.
That's cool.
Doing a cornhole tournament that you can win meet and greets and all kinds of other fun, great
wow.
prizes, art installations, you know, great craft food vendors local to the valley there, full bars, and a lot more.
Okay,
right.
And Steve, I've already put this on my calendar because hubby and I don't get many date nights. So it can certainly be a date night event, but families are welcome to as well.
I think it's for everybody. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, most people are, you know, 21 plus and young adults, and the people that love this genre throwing it back with Genuine and Union Clips and Baby Back
All right,
are
Steve.
truthfully probably a little bit older. But it's a great crowd that comes back every single time. Whether we're doing country, we're doing pop, we're doing hip hop, it's always a good time.
All right, great. Steve, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Steve Thacher with Activated Events. We appreciate your time and all you do to bring good music and good fun to families in Arizona, buddy. Have a great weekend. Looking forward to it. And let's go ahead and we'll give you the details here if we can real quick on that, because I think it's $59.
And I thought they were more. I thought I saw something like 80. So that's really good. General ticket sales start at $59. That's a pretty good price point.
Pre-sale begins August 21st at 10 a.m. And those are, of course, general admission tickets. But he mentioned the VIPs, cabanas.
Yeah.
Cabana, anyone?
I'll splurge for the night if you got it. If your pockets are deep.
Yeah, for sure. ActivatedEvents.com. That's where you can get some of those tickets. I think we have a big reveal. I wanted to make sure and wrap that up just a little bit because I wanted to show off. Do we want to reveal something?
We do have a big reveal.
Okay, so this is Kahlua and Dunkin' unveiling. They're teaming up, Kahlua and Dunkin', America's largest coffee and donuts brand, to introduce Kahlua Dunkin' Caramel Swirl Cream Liqueur. It's the latest addition to Kahlua's permanent line. of thoughtfully crafted liqueurs, making Kahlúa's largest investment in the cream liqueur category and Duncan's very first foray into cream liqueur. Okay, Bella's going to do the honors.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, here's the unboxing. Duncan and Kahlúa coming together.
Oh, look at that. Look at the front.
I mean, I'm for anything
That's
caramel.
very cool.
So I'm all about
How
this.
cute, this little, maybe you show up at his party just with this little thing. Hi, we brought our little.
Think of the espresso martinis.
Careful,
I mean,
keep
that's
that away from the
very
kids.
popular right now, but you have the caramel. It's like a caramel coffee.
That's
espresso martini.
Well, I'm like addicted to the like salted caramel flavor right now. So that does sound really good.
Like a white Russian with this.
Yeah.
Made with 100% Arabica coffee.
Oh. Okay, there you go.
Yummy.
That is a huge reveal, by the way.
Who's taking that home? I don't think it's going to be here.
I think it's
come
Big
Monday
D.
morning.
Big D. Dave's taking it home.
Dave will take it.
There's Dave. Okay, let's go ahead and read. We want to read some of your comments.
He didn't even look up at the camera.
He's like, no.
He's like, I'm not going there.
Not me. Let's go ahead and read some of your comments this morning, and then we'll go back to the poll question and wrap that up. And I think Ty's going to come in and talk about what is coming up here in a brief moment. But yes, we do have. Jen Swall says he kind of looks like a Pitbull, like he's like a tough dude. And yeah, many of you are chiming in and just saying, hey, yeah, Brandy the Bookworm said she's worked with Activated many years ago when she was a music magazine editor.
Oh,
how fun. I
very
wonder
cool.
I wonder if that was, we used to have a magazine here called, I think it was 411 or something like that in Scottsdale years ago. But Mike Fernandez says, let's go cream liqueur. Husky Mom, good morning to you. She says, yeah, cream liqueur.
I like Dave's comment.
He's not with it. He's like, Kahlúa makes me gag.
No politics for Dave Brousseau.
No
and
Kahlúa.
No
Okay.
Kahlúa, even if it's caramel flavored with Duncan. Nope.
Yeah, so true. Okay, let's go to the poll question. Many of you have chimed in, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We're going to be showing this and reading your comments throughout the next hour as well, maybe longer, as we watch what's happening in Alaska with Trump and Putin. 56% of you say, yes, I think Trump will get through to Putin. We also have this morning a T-shirt winner. Let's go right to that photograph. So this is, of course, Brandy the Bookworm.
Lovely photo, Brandy.
Yes. S'mores and I are Fox 10 Talkers are you. And then she kind of throws up, join us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube at Fox 10 Phoenix. That
Oh my
is
gosh,
so
s'mores
cool.
is so adorable.
Brandy, we so appreciate you. And she loves to read. She loves, anytime we talk about food or reading, she is right there. So thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Ty and Anita up next.
Everyone, good morning. It's Friday, 11 o'clock and 7 seconds. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Fox 10 Talks continues with Ty and Anita.
And we got a lot to get to on this Friday. TGIF BT dubs.
I don't know. I
don't know
can't.
who needs to hear it, but TGIF.
One more time.
TGIF.
I've waited 5 days to say that to you. Woo, girl.
All right.
A lot going on in the world.
I don't have any of my buttons set up.
Okay.
So I was wondering if we could maybe take one of the edges, the live look, edge 1 or 2.
Edge 2.
Can we take edge 2?
Thank you.
Okay, there
we
we
have
go.
Lots of instructions.
So this is a live look up in Alaska on this Friday morning. Of course, President Trump getting ready to have a historic meeting with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, within just now a matter of hours. And so you can see the final preparations. Look at this guy. He's got the duty of vacuuming the podium there on Alaska. Kind of like a dreary morning.
I would actually quite enjoy that task.
Vacuuming?
Well, I like to clean, but also I feel like it's instant gratification. And you're doing something that, you know, if there's a lot of debris on that runway or that walkway, the podium, people are going to notice.
All right. So obviously a lot of eyes basically around the world are going to be on this today.
It's
because,
a very serious matter.
Obviously they are hoping to maybe come to some sort of solution.
Yeah, this is the beginning. I know
beginning,
that President Trump has said he is thinking that there's a 25% chance things won't go well, but we are expecting the two presidents. I've heard that this is going to be a 2-on-2, so possibly President Trump and
Putin.
But Marco Rubio, thank you, will be there. And then his counterpart, his Russian counterpart, who I understand landed in Alaska much earlier just to start setting things up for them on this morning. Those are the talks. It might be just Putin and Trump. And so there's a lot going on. I think President Trump, Air Force One took off. I'm going to say it was like 5 o'clock this morning. So I think that sounds just about right?
Yeah, so they should be landing here shortly. So, of course, we're going to continue to monitor these latest images coming out of Alaska this morning. But we want to talk with kind of an expert who's going to give us some more information about... Oh, we're having some technical issues. Okay, we're still trying to establish our guest via Zoom.
Yes.
But in the meantime, let's just kind of get some background on all of this with some other individuals.
Christina Hook. We're going to hear from Christina Hook.
Okay. I don't have any of my SOTs
If you guys
on the
can
board.
go ahead and play SOT 2 for us and back. We don't have that up on our board.
I'm actually just returning from spending the last few months in Ukraine. I've been researching the war there since it began in 2014. And I think, what we're seeing play out this week with a big meeting coming up between President Trump and between Vladimir Putin is we're seeing Putin kind of stick to his wily ways. He's very, very good at trying to throw deceit out there in the world. And so this week, I saw a few headlines that said that maybe Putin would try to end the war. But what he's actually said is that he will think about doing a ceasefire. That's something very different. And the other thing that I've seen him really try to play games with is he said, that he would, just maybe take some lands in eastern Ukraine or something like that. Now, that's a terrible deal, but there's also a deceit game going on. The lands he's talking about, Russia's been trying to take for 11 years, and they've been unsuccessful. And so now he's telling Ukraine that even though they weren't capable of conquering those lands, they should withdraw. And the other thing I'm watching play out, having just been there, is these lands that he's that's saying that Ukraine should withdraw from. They're some of the most heavily fortified in the country. So he's really creating this narrative that sounds good on the surface, but is a poison pill that would really set the Russian military up to taking these heavily fortified territories and to absorbing all of these resources into the Russian war machine.
That is Christina Hook. She is a PhD. Her website says she's an assistant professor of conflict management at Kennesaw State University, and that she is also a non-resident senior fellow with Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center as well.
All right. We have another couple of different sound bites from some other professionals. I keep pressing the wrong stupid button here. Let's go to Mikhail Alexive. This is what he's talking about today about this historic meeting.
I'm actually just returning
Just kidding.
from
This is
spending
her
the last
again.
few months in
Let's
Ukraine.
Well, we have the continuing war of Russian aggression and Ukraine defending itself. Russia uses huge firepower advantages. They launch several hundred drones and missiles at Ukrainian cities, mostly civilian infrastructure, every day. They launch 4,000 to 5,000 artillery shells at Ukrainian positions and villages, cities across the front line. They launch about 100 glide bombs that are a big problem, that weigh between 0.5 ton and 3 tons each, and that are impossible to knock down once they are released from the plane. So, and Russia also is pushing with its advantages in manpower. Ukraine is defending itself very valiantly. They are flexible. They are very determined. They have a terrific drone industry and production and innovation going on. They, of course, have our support and support of our allies. So that's what's going on there. And it's the continuation of Russia's war of aggression. Putin can stop it any day, but he doesn't.
Well, let's talk about that. Can Putin stop it any day? We have a very special guest with us, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself for us, sir, and tell everyone your name and what your expertise is, where you are calling from, please. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. All right, sir. Can I just get you to tell us your name and kind of give us some background about what your expertise is?
Right. I'm Volodymyr Dubovik. I'm a professor of international relations at Odessa University in Ukraine, and I'm currently in Warsaw, Poland.
Czy pan rozumie po polsku? Hello, czy pan rozumie po polsku?
No, not really.
No, I had to double check because sometimes it's very close. I was asking everyone in the chat if.
Well, I know it's close. I understand some Polish, yes, but I don't really speak Polish.
Oh, got it. Okay, so we just heard a soundbite from someone saying that Vladimir Putin can stop this war whenever he wants to. What do you say about that?
Well, that's true. That's within his power. I mean, he can just stop the war, or he can withdraw his troops, or even leave his troops where they are, but stop attacking Ukrainian troops and stop sending missiles and drones against Ukrainian cities and Ukrainian civilians. So that's always been within his power. Ukraine, on the contrary, cannot stop fighting because the moment we stop fighting, Russians keep advancing and take more of our cities and more of our people. So for us, Ukrainians, it's a matter of this war is a matter of national survival. It's existential war. It's really a national liberation war, if you like. But for Russians, it's a purely imperialistic war. They just go into a neighboring country and take as much land as they can. And the problem is, of course, that their appetites are insatiable. You know, they just want to take more and more, and they want to change the government in Kyiv, and they want to disarm Ukrainian troops now, with one reason only, to continue this aggression to the moment when the Ukrainian state and Ukrainian statehood probably doesn't exist. So for us, it's really no dilemma. We have to fight even when the war is very hard for us. And it's asymmetric war. Russia is stronger, it's bigger, it has much resources, it has nuclear weapons, it has bigger population, so they can mobilize more people for the war. But it's not a matter of choice for us in Ukraine, and Ukrainians understand it now, and we are ready for some negotiations and maybe some concessions, and maybe recognize that some lands that Russians currently occupy, we cannot liberate them anytime soon. So we can be realistic and pragmatic, but to some extent. What Russia is now trying to dictate as their ultimatum to Ukraine is basically calling for our surrender and capitulation, and that Ukrainians, being a proud nation, just cannot allow to happen.
I wanted to ask you this because we heard not too long ago the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, saying you really can't have a meeting about Ukraine without Ukraine being there. So what do you kind of, I guess, feel like what will happen today? What do you think can actually come out of this meeting?
Well, that's a good principle. I think it's a good formula in principle. I mean, indeed, if it's about Ukraine's fate, then Ukraine should be present and take part in these discussions. Because after all, Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe. If you don't count Russia, then we're the biggest country, and population-wise also quite large country. We are great, not a great power, but a middle power, influential one. So yeah, we deserve, after 3.5 years of defending against Russian aggression, we deserve to be at the table. At the same time, we understand that no decision, whatever decision may be taken, would not be even implemented without Ukraine, because if Ukraine says it's not to our interest, then it's not implemented. We are understanding that pretty clearly, but at the same time, we don't necessarily are against Mr. Trump sizing up or filling up Putin and meeting with him and talking to him. If we see that President Trump is really not believing Putin's promises that he wants to end the war, like he said a number of times in the last few weeks, and that Ukraine should be actually supported against a stronger Russian enemy, with U.S. weapons being sold and bought by Europeans and given to Ukraine. I think that's the right formula. I mean, if you have an underdog, which is Ukraine here, but in a fair fight for its own freedom, being a republic, being a democracy, fighting against a strong authoritarian regime, against the United States, with its history of helping those who are in the right, have to do more to help Ukraine. And especially now when American taxpayers' money shouldn't go to help Ukraine, because European allies of Ukraine are ready now to buy U.S. weapons. But for us, of course, the effort provided by Mr. Trump is extremely important. And that's why President Zelensky always says that President Trump probably is the only one politician in the world that can actually resolve this war and put an end to it. No one in the world wants this war to end more than Ukrainians. We are suffering the most. But at the same time, we don't want to end this war at the condition that they become slaves of Russian Empire.
Yeah. We have about 1 minute left, and I was wondering if you might be able to hold on to take a commercial break with us and then come back in another 2 minutes, because I've got so many more questions for you, sir. You're just a wealth of knowledge here. But I guess before we let you go here, we've got about another 45 seconds before we have to hit that break. I would love to kind of just get your take on everything that you and your fellow Ukrainians have just kind of been going through. So we're going to take that quick break, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes from now. We're going to continue this very interesting conversation with you. I appreciate your time, sir.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you in just a second. And we will take a quick break, and we will leave you with these live images from Alaska on this historic Friday morning.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are speaking with, I hope I say it correctly, Vladimir Dubov.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. You are calling. You are in Poland. You are
Ukraine.
He's in Warsaw. He's Ukrainian. Yeah, and so we are getting some absolute excellent insight. I heard a report this morning that was talking about the casualties, millions of lives lost, both countries. The Russian economy not very strong right now, which could potentially be one reason why Putin is willing to begin some of these talks. Why else do you think that he is open to these conversations?
Well, fortunately, the victims are not in millions, but let's say in tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands. But that's still a huge number, of course, for both of us countries, definitely for Ukraine, which is smaller than Russia. For Putin, these conversations and these negotiations are important because he's breaking out of isolation. In the last 3.5 years, none of the Western leaders have met with Putin, basically trying not to, offer any handshakes to Putin. And right now, of course, Mr. Trump decides to invite him to U.S. So that's a big deal to Putin in terms of his international standing. Second, that he tries to manipulate President Trump and tell him that it's somehow Ukraine's fault that the war is ongoing and that Russia is a great power, has some special rights with regard to Ukraine. And maybe we'll try to convince Mr. Trump that Ukraine is some kind of artificial country, some kind of aberration, shouldn't exist, that maybe most of Ukraine should belong to Russia, the Russian Federation or Russian Empire, if you like. So he would actually really liking this position now to be on the podium together with President Trump, if indeed there is a joint press conference. But I think that Mr. Trump should look through it, see through it, and see that Mr. Putin is only trying to offer more fog and more of a situation of when it's hard to determine really what he wants to do, because he says, I want peace, I want some ceasefire, but maybe not right now, maybe when Ukrainians are satisfied some of our demands, and then there is a long list of demands which actually equals to Ukraine becoming capitulating or surrendering, so it's not an option for Ukraine then. So I think Mr. Putin is really interested in a great power standing for his country, and these meetings offered him one. But then again, what happens there, I don't think there will be a breakthrough. I don't think there will be a ready peace plan there. Mr. Trump himself already sees this, and he already says that probably it's more like a listening exercise, trying to understand what Mr. Putin wants right now. So I guess it's more important now. And what is also important, as you said, that Russia is still gaining a lot of money. They're selling a lot of stuff, a lot of energy, gold, what have you, at the international markets. And that's, of course, the money that they put into their war machine. So that issue needs to be addressed. And Mr. Trump's suggestion that there will be higher tariffs on Russian goods and there should be secondary sanctions on countries trading with Russia, specifically buying Russian oil, that's a very good suggestion which might really hurt Russia and undermine their ability to continue killing Ukrainians.
You mentioned just a few minutes ago the possibility of maybe some concessions, especially when it comes to maybe land concessions in this ongoing battle. Do you think that's something that President Zelensky would be willing to do?
Yes, it's a painful issue, obviously, to Ukrainians because no one wants to lose any land. And the people living in those lands, that's millions of Ukrainians who are now under Russian occupation. So we really, our hearts bleed for them. It's our friends, our brothers who would rather be in Ukraine proper. But considering the situation when this war is raging for so long and Ukraine is having a weaker hand here, not that we don't have cards to play, but we are weaker, one of those enemies that is weaker than Russia. We need to understand, be realistic. We need to understand that we probably wouldn't be able to liberate all of our currently occupied lands by Russia anytime soon. And therefore, we need to think through this situation and understand that we can tacitly de facto recognized temporary occupation of this lands by Russia. But that means that there will be no formal recognition by Ukraine of this lands belonging to Russia. And there could be no, as Russians are insisting right now, no withdrawing of Ukrainian troops from some areas, because Ukrainian troops have been heroically defending some of the positions where Russians cannot take those positions for years now. And then they say, okay, but as a part of our negotiation, we would like Ukrainian troops to withdraw, to ruin their defense and go back to some other positions and let us seize and capture that region, specifically the region of Donbass in the east of Ukraine. That's not fair, it's not a fair peace. That's not a viable peace. And Ukrainians really worry, having history with Putin and Russians, that if we have a ceasefire today, but it's not propped up properly, there is no mechanism of guarantees for ceasefire, there is no security guarantees to Ukraine, then we end up with another violation ceasefire by Russians. They'll just use the pause, they'll get more people mobilized, they'll produce more weapons, and they'll continue attacking Ukraine. Because if you look at their statements, Putin's and others, they are basically saying there is no such thing as Ukraine. There's no Ukrainian nation, there is no Ukrainian culture. So they're basically putting this all in a category of existential fight, of some kind of genocide war, when they're trying to do away with everything which is Ukraine. And that's why people in Ukraine are really worried, that we cannot just sign ceasefire for the sake of signing ceasefire and not knowing that the durable and viable peace would come next.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, I mean, this war began, 2.5 years ago now? And I think Russia thought this was going to be a slam dunk. They were going to move right into Kyiv in a matter of weeks. And now, look at this, 2.5 years later, that's not the case. Ukraine has been, I guess, a pretty good adversary, holding its own. Yeah.
That's quite right. We've been resilient. The war actually started even longer ago. It started in 2014, but that was more of a low-intensity conflict when Russia seized the Crimean Peninsula, and they also attacked that region of Donbass, which they partially control, which I mentioned before. But the full-scale aggression started in February 2022, so it's been 3.5 years now. And Ukraine is fighting back, and you're right. They were hoping to get to Kyiv capital within several days. They even had their, ceremonial suit, the Russian military, for the parade, the victory parade. But of course, they never got into Kyiv. Moreover, they've been even thrown back in certain parts of Ukraine. Back in 22, Ukraine actually liberated like half of the land that they've taken at that point of time, Russians. And a big explanation and big portion of why and how is it possible for Ukraine to fight back so successfully is actually that different countries, including U.S., came to our assistance. The United States at that point of time actually created a big coalition of countries supporting Ukraine and coordinated activities of that coalition. There was a Ukraine Defense Contact Group created where the United States played a major role, the crucial role. And I think it's quite fitting for the country which stands as a model for democratic countries around the world, for the country which always tries to stand for the weakest, for those who are abused, for those who are assaulted, for those who are victims of aggression, for the country which believes in democratic principles, in the principles of territorial integrity, sovereignty of state, what have you. Whichever your reason, you have to be inside of Ukraine. And that's why we are really, really grateful, to Americans, not just the government or any particular administration, even though we are grateful to the presidential administrations, the previous one and the current one as well, for their efforts to support Ukraine. But we're primarily grateful to rank and file, the folks, Americans who are supporting Ukraine. And looking at the polls, probably the level of support of Ukraine in the U.S. is not as high as, say, in spring of 22 when the full-scale aggression just started, but it's still quite high. And knowing that Americans have in their genes, in their genetic code, the will for struggle for their freedom, I'm pretty sure that America should continue to stay by Ukraine because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and all of your information and your knowledge. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be able to talk soon. And maybe there will be a second or third meeting and we will continue. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Be safe. Thank you.
Wow, a wealth of knowledge from him there, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Air Force One has now touched down. So this is a joint base Elmdorf Richardson, and this is in Anchorage, Alaska. This is, we did a little bit of research, the only place, within the city that met security requirements for both. And this is the first time that Trump and Putin will be meeting face to face since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine 3.5 years ago.
And this is the first time that Putin has been here in the United States in 10 years. The last time he was here was in 2015 when he was in talks with then President Obama. So you can see Air Force One just touching down. They're moving the air stair up to the door here, and within just a matter of minutes, we do expect that President Donald Trump will be coming down those stairs. We don't know exactly where President Putin is, but we do expect them to probably meet, as we saw them preparing that little podium there right in the foreground.
Shake
hands, do some ceremonial photographs before they then start their meetings behind closed doors.
You have to wonder if they will be Mr. Putin's plane will be pulling up next to, symbolically, to show that they will be discussing if he'll be out of the camera's view in a more secure area.
And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Putin already arrived.
Correct. Okay.
So
okay.
I think he's already there. So we'll just kind of see how this will all play out here this morning.
Okay. We're just keeping an eye out to see what happens with the next couple of minutes. This is really interesting, so we're just going to keep the camera right here to see what more develops out here this morning. But President Trump has said, I think he said it yesterday, he thinks there's about a 25% chance that this won't go well, and he does not expect a ceasefire deal to come out of this particular meeting. This is one of what he hopes will be many discussions, because he also agrees Ukraine has to be there.
Yeah, and some folks, political analysts, have been kind of saying that over the past couple of weeks, President Trump has kind of tamped down those expectations of what will be happening here today. And we mentioned, and we spoke to that professor just a few minutes ago, that they were really hoping, Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was basically saying, hey, there cannot be a meeting about Ukraine without Ukraine at the table. And that's when President Trump said, well, hopefully after this, if things go well, then there's going to be potentially a second meeting with not only Zelensky, but the rest of maybe the European Union kind of all coming together to talk about what happens next.
I heard something interesting. I know you follow politics somewhat, but they were talking about potentially Trump saying to Putin, adding him to the G7, which would then become the G8. I don't know if you've heard about that or not, and how I guess enticing that would be to Mr. President Putin, to have that protection and have that being part of that summit. So we'll continue to do a little bit more research. We've got about 15 minutes. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we are going to continue our coverage of this very historic meeting.
Don't go to Mark?
I don't know.
I would. You can talk to him.
Good morning. Thanks for staying with us. Can you hear me, or do I need to turn my mic on, James? Okay. Thank you. Hey, you guys, you're still hanging out with us here on Fox 10 Talks. And look at this cast that we have got for you today.
Hi.
Hey.
I got the short chair.
I got the little chair. It's fine.
You're the tallest of us all, so you worked out.
Which says a lot.
Yeah, that's all right. How'd the last half hour go for you guys? Good.
We are watching and anticipating. Air Force One has landed in Anchorage. And
Yes.
And what did you call it? The air stairs?
Air stairs.
They moved the air stairs over, and they've situated them right there at the door.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that on. So I'm having fun with this deck this week, but I don't see it labeled here. Which one is the president's?
There you go.
There we go.
What's up now?
James got my back.
Always a lot going on, but we're just waiting for President Trump to appear and then hopefully seamlessly.
So they have now landed.
Yeah.
So that gives us hope that everything should be running on schedule. This meeting is set for 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, so that is 12:30 our time here in Arizona.
Here's some interesting information coming in as we're waiting the president walking off this plane. This just 1 minute ago was reported on CNN Online. It said the one-on-one meeting that had been planned between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin now includes advisors to the two men, and that's according to the White House. This just posted about a minute ago or so. So Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters Air Force One that Trump would now be joined by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff for the bilateral portion of the talks. And then, of course, on the other side, President Vladimir Putin from Russia will also have some assistance as well. They're with him in the room for the discussion. And as we're awaiting this, I wonder if we can bring in one of our interviews, Desiree, to talk about a little bit about background on some of the politics surrounding what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So on with us this morning is a gentleman named Mark Kramer. He is the director of the Cold War Studies Project at the Davis Center. Mark, thank you for joining us this morning and carving out some time for us in your day. You're also the author, editor of several books. You've written nearly 200 articles on a variety of topics, and you've got your eyes pretty closely centered on this big meeting with President Trump and President Putin today. What is it that you're looking for out of this meeting or hope to learn?
Okay, the guy that okay, that there is an important person not there who is Volodymyr Zelensky. It is that whose agenda was set President.
We're having some trouble hearing Mark.
Sorry,
Mark, I know you can hear us well, and we can hear you, but you're going in and out. So we'll try to work on that and circle back with Mark once we get the audio situated.
All right, let's go right back to that look there, if we can, James, of the president's plane, as we're waiting for him stepping off that, as we work on getting the audio fixed with Mark, because he had some interesting, you could kind of hear a little bit of what he was saying. He actually said that there's one person that's definitely missing from that conversation is Vladimir Zelensky. So you have President Trump and a couple of advisors there who will be in the meeting room with them, and then of course you have President Putin, who will likely have some advisors as well in the room. Do you think they're going to play Texas Hold'em, or what's happening?
Maybe Scrabble, solitaire.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe some Pictionary.
Yeah.
Here is
charades.
Potentially. I don't know.
Ty and I just chatted with an expert, and he was currently living in Warsaw from Ukraine. And he was really, I think some of the things that he said were really interesting about how, no, you can't have a ceasefire without Vladimir Zelensky. However, this is a good start. This is a way to bring Putin to the table and really start some conversations.
Well, I think if you look back several months, if you recall when there was an initial meeting between Trump and Putin, it seemed like, okay, they were on a good speaking terms about this very issue. And then if you recall, when Vladimir Zelensky visited the White House, it was tense moments in the Oval Office. And that video kind of went viral, and people thought, what is going on here? Obviously, people thought President Trump doesn't have control of this issue. Vladimir Zelensky may not be on board with what the president is pitching. And so I think then you saw President Putin shift gears. And so I think there's a lot of conflict management that goes on with this situation like this.
Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was really interesting with that expert we just spoke to is we talked to him about concessions, about, will Ukraine have to secede some of that land that Russia has already taken? And he says that's probably going to be part of all of this.
Yeah.
Vladimir Zelensky has come out obviously saying he doesn't want that to happen, but I think when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, according to this last individual we just spoke to, that's going to be something that they're going to have a real hard look at as far as if they're going to come to some sort of, I guess, peace agreement, peace deal, that there could potentially be some land that would be, I guess, seceded.
And I'm trying to Google it and talk a little bit about this, but I think I'd heard something about President Trump possibly offering President Putin resources from Alaska as well, American resources. So once again, moving that over from one side to the other, where everyone is offering some type of concession to find some type of peace.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting too. I found it interesting. I don't know if the expert you guys spoke to spoke about this at all, but it was Putin's advisors and his team that kind of called for this meeting. So to me, that leaves questions. Well, is he ready to, meet some of the president's demands, or talk about concessions, or talk about ending this invasion here in Ukraine?
The other thing they brought up too, and this could be part of it, are the sanctions and the tariffs, and President Trump putting higher tariffs on Russia and other countries that are purchasing the different resources from Russia, and perhaps that is one reason that Putin is saying, okay, this is really going to hurt us. Our economy is already struggling because of all of this.
I think it's an important question to ask too. I mean, we're sitting here talking about things on a global scale, but if in the chat, if you want to mention, what do you really care about? Is this something that you think affects people on Main Street? And if so, how does it? We look at grocery prices rising. Gas prices have kind of stabilized. The stock market, we're over 45,000 right now. We're watching inflation, of course, as kind of the weeks carry on. But when you're thinking about some of these global issues, I often wonder whether or not people on Main Street actually care about what's happening and how much they care about it. Do you really think it'll affect the stock market? Will it affect your 401k in the long run? And so if you want to chime in the chat and let us know your thoughts on this, because Jen's Wall right now is talking about fishing and covering 6 tackle boxes and 12 fishing rods.
She only fishes for sport, you guys.
Which actually, maybe you're right on track, because in Alaska, that's prime halibut fishing. So
let me go back and
salmon
ask
and halibut.
A question. The expert we spoke to, if I'm not mistaken, okay, now I lost my train of thought and what I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Sorry, now you're thinking about fish.
He had mentioned that American taxpayer dollars should not be going to fund the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the big thing as Americans. This has obviously been going on. We have been helping the Ukrainians. Last administration, as well as this administration, has been sending resources to the Ukrainians to help fight this war. And that was what the expert said, is the Americans shouldn't have to foot the bill for what's going on. So I think that was kind of another point that he was making of why, on a global scale, this should come to an end.
Which is so interesting, because Ukraine has so much support from Americans. You see the stickers, you see bumper stickers.
The flags in people's yards.
People talking about how much they support Ukraine. And so it just very interesting. He did say that this was a good move by President Trump, and hopefully if anyone can do it, he can do it. So you know what's going to happen, you guys, the second we go to break or move that camera off.
Then he'll come off.
He's going to come off that stairs, which is why we're leaving it up for
Well, we can go take a look at our poll question, and of course, if there's any activity there, we can switch back to that to make sure we catch his exit from Air Force One there. But we asked all of you, do you think Trump and Putin's meeting today could lead to peace and an end to the war? 54% of folks think yes. President Trump will get through to President Putin, while 40% say no, Putin does not want peace. and then just a mere 6% believe that, maybe they'll make some sort of progress today, but you can't do anything without Ukraine involved in the discussions here. Dave, I'm going to pull up the Dave cam. And I think you've got some comments from some of our viewers on this.
That's right. Yeah, it's really interesting how different the results are on our YouTube poll. Almost 1,000 votes in right now. I'll read some of those comments. John Doe 9389 says, even if they do come to some kind of agreement, Zelensky will reject it unless Russia agrees to let Ukraine join NATO, fully withdraw their troops, and reset the borders to the way they were before the war, and surrenders. J4R0D says no, Zelensky and Putin don't want peace. Zelensky wants a ceasefire to reinforce positions. Putin wants to keep his initiative or get concessions from Ukraine. ERZW9ZT says Trump and Putin have much in common. They are strong, no-nonsense leaders who love their countries. Trump admires Putin and Putin admires Trump, and I admire both of them. And last but not least, Donnie Halcombe 1120 says Putin has lost a lot, and this conflict has been very costly to both sides. Putin cannot stop, because if he does, he will show weakness, and the people of Russia, who have lost a lot of faith, will lose faith in him. Although this meeting has great significance, Putin will not back down, nor will Zelensky. So amazing, really insightful comments. Keep them up, guys.
And it's interesting, just looking at the chat right now, seeing some folks still discussing this. Like Charles David says, I do think this affects all of us, maybe in ways that we don't fully understand now, right? There are always repercussions for our actions. And if Russia were to take, large parts of Ukraine, what does that mean for us if Ukraine is our ally? And there's a lot of headlines that obviously we've been following surrounding this. One on Fox News, including, the NATO defense minister signals absolute distrust that Putin wants any peace deal ahead of this summit. And European leaders are speaking out about this. The Lithuanian defense minister saying, there's absolute distrust here, even in the slightest idea that Putin wants peace, because he keeps annihilating Ukraine. And we kind of have seen that happen after the president and Putin have had discussions before, previously in the year. The president will think that we're close to making some sort of peace deal. And then we've seen Putin bomb Ukraine right after some of those discussions. So it's all speculation, right? We really have no idea what is going to come out of this meeting. I think everybody is just, anticipating to see what happens.
1 second. We're about to take a break real quick, and we'll be right back. Sorry, I heard that.
All right, welcome back, you guys. Once again, I forgot to tell you to get your guesses in here on the Mystery Cam. We are watching Air Force One. We're waiting for President Trump to exit the plane there. It has landed in Alaska there, so we'll keep tabs on that for you, but we do have some time if you guys want to try to get in your guesses of where our Mystery Cam today might be. Do you guys have any sort of clue? I don't know. It's really pretty. It's really green. I like the green trees matching the green rooftops here.
Some mountains in the background.
Yeah.
No.
Windy.
Oh, no.
Looks windy.
And maybe some
Somewhere
rain.
in Tennessee.
Maybe like Maryland or
I don't know.
Pennsylvania or something colonial.
Oh, okay.
Those look like barracks almost, or dorm.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be a campus. You're right.
Yeah, like
be.
a university, maybe like Pennsylvania.
Or did you have something else in mind? Like maybe like a training facility.
Oh, yeah, like military training or
could
something.
be.
Yeah.
That might be a clue.
Because those three buildings look very similar.
We're not getting any guesses, folks at home.
No, I know.
No,
I
they're
was like, should we
talking-
buy
need some
time
help
and wait?
here.
They're talking about. I was
they're
like,
talking about
eating
fishing
some
and lunch.
strawberries. Sherry, really? Can you share?
Husky Mom says Kentucky.
Oh, Patricia, she said,
said-
I already posted my guess. Where is it? Hang on.
She says Carroll Creek Park in Maryland. Okay, I'm going to go Maryland.
See, that's very specific. She knows the name of the park.
You don't have any guesses.
No.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to bring us all up here on camera. And what is it, Ty?
Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah.
Way to go, Patricia.
Very specific there.
Patricia and Ron are in cahoots when it comes to these cameras and geography.
Yeah, maybe they are. So you guys, earlier on the show this morning, Fox 10 AZAM, we spoke with Fox News' Sunday's Shannon Bream and had a discussion with her about the big meeting today, redistricting that's now happening not only in Texas, but the possibility of things happening in California as well. So we're going to play that interview that we had with her earlier this morning. Meanwhile, we are still keeping an eye on Air Force One there, waiting for the president to deplane. But as we do, we're going to play that interview for you, and you'll see what we were able to discuss this morning. Just a few hours, we are expecting to see a historic summit happen between President Trump and Russian President Putin there. And joining us now this morning to talk about what we can expect today with this big meeting is Fox News Sunday's Shannon Bream. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good to see you, Desiree.
Good to see you. So this really is the first time the U.S. and Russia are meeting since June of 2021, before Russian President Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. So I know you've got all eyes on this. What can we expect to come out of this meeting today?
Well, the White House has been managing on expectations, what we could expect out of this, saying, the president, he says, I'll know within a couple of minutes how serious Putin is, or not looking into his eyes, sitting down at this meeting, kind of evoking that comment that George W. Bush made years ago about, I looked right into his eyes and I saw into his soul. President Trump's going to try to do the same thing today. So do they agree to at least a ceasefire and a quick second meeting, which the White House would like? When does President Zelensky get involved? All of those questions still up in the air, but they're scheduled for a joint press conference after the meeting, and if they both show up for that, I think it's a good sign they've made some progress. If one or none of them show up, might tell us something different.
Okay, and we saw him boarding Air Force One this morning, so he is currently on his way, of course. And then he's also talked about kind of along the way this week, his hopes aren't high. He's kind of just feeling things out and hopefully setting up a successful potential second summit involving President Zelensky.
Yeah, exactly, because everybody agrees, and there's been a lot of pressure from the European allies, that Zelensky has to be at the table. Ukraine cannot be part of a solution that they're not part of. And you've got these conversations and these comments that the president has made about land swaps or territory swaps. What exactly would that mean? I mean, in Ukraine, for land to change hands, for them to cede anything, actually has to go to a national referendum. So is there a way around that? What would Zelensky agree to? So a lot of attention to detail here. It's going to be very complex, but it's got to be more than just Putin and Trump. It's got to be Zelensky as well at the table eventually.
Yeah, and then we'll be looking forward to that joint press conference after the two have that meeting then as well. That's set for about the meeting, 12:30 our time here in Arizona. But let's shift to our second topic for this morning. California Governor Gavin Newsom there mentioning that he is going to fight fire with fire when it comes to redistricting. What is going on?
So every state has its own protocol. It's, governed by the state constitution, the state law there. And so California a bit has its hands tied at this point. They use an independent commission, and they don't do this mid-decade. They don't do the redistricting. So the governor has said he's going to get it on the ballot for a special election in November. And then the people of California will have a say in whether or not they want to pull the trigger on this thing. The polling in California shows that the independent commission is very popular. The people like that. But this is a moment of a lot of heat and a lot of passion. So we'll see if he gets it onto the ballot and if the people of California say, yeah, we want to change our system too.
All right. And then, we've got everything happening in Washington as well. We've got Attorney General Pam Bondi kind of giving the helm of the police department over to the DEA head there, Terry Cole. So there's a lot happening. I know you're diving into, I'm sure, all of that this weekend. So who is coming up on your show, and what are some of the topics you guys will discuss?
So we will have the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who's been in all of these negotiations with Putin, to come and give us a breakdown of where we are, what comes from the meeting, and what happens next. We've also got GOP Senator Eric Schmidt with us as well. And we're going to talk about all of those topics. We're going to talk about the D.C. fight over putting National Guard troops on the streets here, how that is going, and whether or not there will be a sanctions package out of the Senate for Russia, because it's sitting there. It's got more than 80 senators in support. Hard to get that on anything. Will the president say it's time to go based on this meeting today?
All right, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Of course, everybody can watch you 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 7 a.m. Arizona time on Sunday. Thank you so much, Shannon. All right, so there you go, you guys. We heard from Shannon this morning. She's always so insightful. So it's nice to have her part of the show. And we'll take you to Air Force One.
Oh, that's Dave.
Oh, that's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Oh,
Dave
sorry.
Dave is kind of like our Air Force One. Dave is the pilot of this streaming Air Force One.
My pad went back to the first page on me. There you go.
All right, so
Big Dave.
Air Force One touched down 30 minutes ago, and according to sources, they're still waiting for Putin to show up. But I looked at another angle, and this was pretty incredible to see all of the military jets that are on display, because obviously whenever the president goes anywhere, there is just a huge show of force, and not only on the ground with the Beast and things like that. I doubt the Beast was coming today because he's not driving anywhere, really. I think they're staying right on the military base. But just all of the other aircraft that travel with the president is pretty incredible to see this wide shot. I don't think we have access to this. I'm just seeing some pictures, but it is pretty incredible to see.
So we're waiting for Putin, but we do know that Putin
is in Alaska already. Yes.
In Anchorage, and you're talking about that base. I found some history if you guys want to talk a little bit about that. Located in southeast Alaska, just north of Anchorage. The combined base was stood up in 2010. Before that, there were two separate installations. Army had Fort Richardson and Air Force had Elmderhoff Air Force Base. So after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Fort Richardson also served as a camp for 104 people. And then the camp was open from 1941 to 1943, according to the website.
There are the planes that you both were talking about just moments ago.
And obviously those are news crews, which one of our sources there, that are adjusting their camera lenses. So Hangar 5 here at the former Elmderhoff, I have a hard time saying that one.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
So is where the Japanese emperor met with President Richard Nixon back on September 26, 1971. First time a Japanese monarch, a sitting Japanese monarch, visited the U.S. The first time they met with a U.S. sitting president, which I thought was interesting. The other thing that we learned earlier was that this was initially thought to be a one-on-one meeting with Putin and Trump, and has now turned into that larger group. Why is that significant?
I think it's important because it goes to show you that maybe they need witnesses. Maybe they need people who are also in that circle, to talk, or maybe they both need also it's interesting.
Advice?
Well, that's where I was going with that, because if you look at the history of the United States and you look at the presidents and even, CEOs of companies, like they say, the greatest leaders surround themselves with people who are smarter than them in specific niches. And so maybe he's looking to say, hey, you two, speaking about the two advisors that Trump will have with him. You're very knowledgeable in these areas, so please come with me, and the same with Putin. Something that I read online as well, 5 things are at stake with these high-level talks. One of them, obviously, is the ceasefire. Interesting to note that not too long ago, there was an emergency virtual meeting between some of the leaders there in Ukraine and President Trump talking about this very issue, Ukraine and European leaders. This was just Wednesday. They urged Trump not to agree to any demands from Putin regarding peace for land following an emergency virtual summit. And Ukraine's territorial integrity was something else that they're looking into as well. And they say that's something that could be affected. And then let's go ahead and take a closer look here. And you can see, are these live images, James? So these are live images.
Yeah, coming from H2 here.
Yeah, these are live images there at the Air Force Base. And you can see the security, you can imagine, is intense. And
this was said to be the most secure place, the only place in that area, in that region, that had the security capabilities that met all of the guidelines here.
And very remote, if in comparison to some of the bigger cities around the country, right? Or even Europe, if you think about that. Europe's security, as we're watching these live images here, Europe's security was also one of the things that are in question and at stake with this conversation. If you think about it, I mean, that whole eastern borderline there between Russia and Europe, and that affects, obviously, the economies of Europe. It says Ukraine aspires to membership of the European Union, and so it affects that potentially. Even, joining NATO, that's something else. Russia's economy is also at stake. We had a special guest, Anita, I'm not sure if you were in for that earlier this week. We had a special guest in talking about Russia's economy, and that when you look at it, it actually isn't that much larger than the economy of the state of Texas. And so you think that it's this, you have a lot of land in Russia. It's a huge country.
They have a lot of resources.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
What we were talking about is the sanctions and the tariffs that President Trump is talking about putting on the countries that buy these resources from Russia. We were talking about how the understanding is that Putin was already there, but then we're looking at a plane that we obviously would believe to be President Putin's plane. So is he flying in from a different portion of Alaska? Is he flying in from a different portion of the United States? That plane obviously landing in Anchorage, and they will be pulling up to the air stairs.
Okay, we just received confirmation. This is
Vladimir
Putin.
This is
Putin's plane.
Russian President Vladimir Putin that is now landing and taxiing.
I'm glad you mentioned resources, Anita, because I just looked them up. Energy resources. Russia possesses the world's largest natural gas reserves. We'll talk more about that in a brief moment. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. right, welcome back, everyone. You are looking live, and it looks as though we've just got confirmation from Big Dave here at the stream that this is Putin's plane that has just landed at the Air Force Base. And we have this live look, and then we have another live look that we'll continue to monitor where you have Trump's plane there as well. But very secure. You see some of the military personnel that are waiting. You see the stairs have now been pulled over, and we are waiting the arrival of both of them. There's President Trump's plane. Of course, moments ago, you just saw President Putin's from Russia. Let's go over these energy resources, and then Anita has some more information on some background on the plane, in fact. So energy resources, natural gas reserves, that's something a lot of natural gas reserves that Russia has, second largest coal reserves, and substantial oil reserves, major exporter of both oil and gas. Minerals, Russia is a leading producer of a wide range of minerals, including iron ore, nickel, copper, aluminum, gold, silver, diamonds, and in fact, platinum. There's a look at one of the network's cameras there on site. You see the journalist there.
This is the site I was talking about with Ty earlier. I said, I wonder if we're going to see them nose to nose or next to each other as perhaps a sign that, okay, we're here. We want to work together. And we want to have these discussions, and we want to reach a peace deal. Russian presidential aircraft is known as the Flying Kremlin, and it features the Russian coat of arms. I don't know if we can see that tail. They're moving things around. Specifically the double-headed eagle on the tail fin. And it also has the Russian flag on the tail, the words Russian Federation in both English and in Russian alongside the airplane there.
All right, so we were just looking, and people are, because we noticed that President Trump landed about 38 minutes ago. So we are learning that he is actually meeting with the Alaska governor, Mike, as well as Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan aboard Air Force One ahead of this meeting, getting some other business done while he just so happens to be in Alaska.
Well, interesting, as you take a look at both of the planes as they're landing, they have red carpets. They've got a podium, and it says Alaska 2025. As much as this is a very political meeting, it also has become, a bit of a superpower type of an event. If you take a look at it, you have media there. And then, of course, as we take a closer look here at the plane where we await President Trump's walking out.
A lot of preparation. Now, this was called fairly quickly. Usually they say meetings like this are months in preparation, but I think it was just within the past couple of weeks that they said this is going to happen, and this is happening in Alaska on Friday.
Or at least to our eyes, seemed to coordinate pretty quickly with location, time, and actually getting this summit set up.
People in the chat are asking, we're going extra today?
We
are.
Yes,
we're going
we are.
extra today.
We're here for you.
We're
Lucky
staying
you.
on Fox 10 Talks until these two world leaders meet on the steps and do their handshake, and then we will turn things over to Fox News, who will continue the coverage. But we thought, hey, we've got the resources.
Yeah,
we got all the time in the world.
This is
we'll
called
just hang out with you.
This is FTT extra.
Yeah, Anita, what do you got?
Extra?
You know what? I don't know. Do we get free food?
Yeah.
That actually is way worth it.
Snack. I've been wanting bagels all morning long.
And some schmear.
What if they don't shake hands?
What if they give a pump?
What do you think they'll do? Fist
I don't
bump?
know.
Hug?
What if they simply just look at each other?
A nod?
Okay, I'm just saying, right? I'm playing devil's advocate here, and I'd love to hear from people at home. We watch those. We watch debates.
Real quick, because now they're
It looks like we have a little bit of activity there with the Flying Kremlin. But we'll watch the pre-fight weigh-ins sometimes. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll watch like the.
You think they're gonna like chest pump?
Where they? I don't know. I don't know what could possibly happen, because we have two very would you call them strong-willed people?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing I was wondering is like, who's going to get off the plane first?
Well, it looks. Look at this right here. You see a couple of people. Oh, is that a pilot?
It almost looks like it's one of the pilots.
Yeah.
Or crew members.
Maybe coming down and checking and sweeping. I think that it would, the polite thing, the correct thing would be, again, this is opinion, chime in at home, but I think that since President Putin is visiting on American soil, it would make sense for President Trump to be there to greet him.
This is going to be the first time, I think, in a long time that maybe Americans have even seen President Putin. It's been a long time here on
it's
US
been a
soil.
decade. It's been a decade.
President Obama.
Well, and I think usually on the show, on AZAM or the video that we show of him, he's shirtless on like a horse or something, and so this is going to be much of a different type of Putin.
So you're saying you think he's going to be shirtless?
I don't know. Maybe we're talking about fist pump.
Yeah, I mean, more.
I
than
don't
a
know
decade
how
he's
welcoming
been
that would
here
be. He
in
might be
Alaska.
cold in Alaska.
Yeah,
Might
might need the extra fabric.
Quite as seriously.
Maybe he'll have a beanie on instead.
Do we not check the forecast in Alaska today? What is it like?
Well, where's Crystal when we need her, you guys?
Yeah, really.
All right. If you are just joining us at 12:05 this morning, you are correct. Yes, you are watching Fox 10 Talks. We've been on the air here since 10 a.m. this morning and kind of covering lots of different interviews and insight and giving you some background on what we're watching. This is one of the live looks here with President Trump. If we can switch it, Desiree, to the other camera angle as well. This is the other plane that has just landed moments ago with President Putin on board. And we have had some great insight from some experts from all around the world talking about this very important meeting between these two world leaders. And folks are really taking a look at different types of issues that could be discussed in this meeting. We have recently learned just moments ago, that it's not just going to be the one-on-one two men. It's going to be also a couple of advisors of both of them as well.
And so we have some people saying that this is that we have Rubio, and then we have Witkoff, who will also be there, and then their Russian counterpart. But we have some sources saying that this reflects how Trump feels about the people who are around him at this time, saying he feels more comfortable that they're in alignment with his view on the world, on his foreign policy, and what he is attempting to pursue here.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting, Ty, you did share that we do know the president is on Air Force One meeting with local leaders. That's important, kind of something we didn't talk much about. But right, that's important to make them feel involved in all of this as well, because this is their home.
In their backyard.
It's happening right.
Huge meeting
right
happening
at home.
right in their backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Alaska is kind of, I guess you could say, the gateway for a lot of, you mentioned all the resources that Russia has. Alaska has just as many. You know, we're talking about the oil pipeline there. And so they obviously are a big deal when it comes to the world stage as well. A lot of shipping comes through Anchorage, one of the busiest airports in the world when it comes from shipping, especially from places like Asia. So he's getting a little bit of business done at the same time. I think we switched. Can you move...
Move the video.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to find the information, you guys, and I know we've been talking about this, but there is a history with Russia and Alaska as well, and I'm trying to find exactly.
So I'll share it.
Okay,
I just found it, and this is an article and. Something that NPR has shared. Alaska's had a long relationship with Russia. Alaska was once a Russian colony and served as a defensive bulwark during the Cold War. It saw a period of warmer relations after the Soviet Union fell, and it has since cooled again. So they've been separated by just 55 miles at the narrowest point across the Bering Strait. So I think that's really important to mention because they're trying to make it easy.
President Trump exit Air Force One right now. So you're right. We did kind of mention that it being here on U.S. soil, that the president, potentially be the first to deboard and greet President Putin. You can see the salutes there.
And President Putin, we're seeing a little activity there.
Let's switch to his plane really quickly.
Switch the cameras.
And here he comes.
It's almost as if they simultaneously.
Yes,
they did. And President Trump did start exiting the plane slightly sooner. And then I wonder if we could do a two-shot.
I know. I was thinking.
I know. I'm trying. I don't want to jar you too much, but
what about the ground image, James? Do we have that ground shot or no? No.
What we are anticipating right now is a handshake between the two presidents. And
all right.
once
So
again,
we are seeing Putin. Yes, he's beginning to walk down the red carpet, and then here's President Trump making his way to the carpet. So it looks like here that the two will potentially meet in the middle, give their greeting for the day. I'll switch back so we can see President Putin. And you can see their staff and security surrounding them as well.
So we initially heard it was going to happen right at 12:10, and it's 12:09 and 16 seconds. So we knew that this was definitely going to be there on time this afternoon on a Friday. And this is a part of history, if we can take a moment to really think about this. Like, this is the first time in a long time where a meeting like this has taken place, and the first time in about a decade or so that Putin has arrived on U.S. soil.
10 years.
And
I think it's very interesting that they are walking down the red carpet towards each other alone. They are not flanked by any of their
security.
cabinet members.
Well, it looks like Putin is here. He's got a couple people walking alongside the red carpet here.
Like,
President Trump
no one's
is
on the red
waiting
carpet with him. Like Rubio's
right.
not on the red carpet with him. The Russian counterpart is not on the red carpet with him.
It's
Trump
one-on-one.
Trump is standing there alone, and Putin is walking down that red carpet alone. He's got the security on the side of him as well. Absolutely. Looks like he had a little bit of a longer walk. Trump clapping, and perhaps in anticipation.
They at one point in Trump's first administration said that he had good relations with Putin. So there have been times where...
Well, we're seeing smiles here
And a
from
handshake.
President Putin. A handshake.
There we go.
Not the dab
There
or
we
the
go.
pump fist as we
Well,
were anticipating, but or the hug or embrace. But we see a little bit of a. They're probably
smiles.
Here's the thing: they both are pretty easygoing with the media, pretty media friendly. Both of these world leaders, and so I think it's only fitting that they laid out the red carpet here, and both of them deplaned. At almost the exact same time.
Trump's
giving the salute.
The military out there. The walk to the podium now, and it is anticipated what will happen on that podium, if there will be any words spoken, if there will be any type of comments to the media, the obviously the summit, and then we understand that there might potentially be some more media briefing.
And this could potentially be a very long meeting. Anywhere between 5 to 6 hours was the estimate. Time will tell how long it takes these two to have these discussions today, but here they are stepping up onto the podium here. I'll give you a little wider shot.
We
And
just
there
saw
they
moments
are.
ago security Air Force overhead flying. And now you see them both on the podium, Alaska 2025.
Pretty powerful image here.
There we go, another handshake. Hopefully leading to peace.
Strong handshake. Oh, we're going to try to see if we can
We were
take
seeing
we're
if
not
there was
sure if we can
any
take a
audio
listen.
here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at this point standing for a photo op there before they exit. President Trump saying thank you to, I would imagine, the press there at the end of the podium.
How old is Vladimir Putin?
So they're
Oh,
both
and the
stepping
two, are
into
they going
the
to go ride
limo.
together here in this?
Yeah, this is
Wow,
great video.
yeah.
He's 72 years old. Do you guys think that discussions will start there, or are they going to wait?
Here you go. We switched camera.
We have
views.
audio
Our
now. Let's
second-
take a listen. So what a big morning it has been. Starting at 10 a.m., we've been anticipating this and following the developments happening all around the world as Putin has traveled to Alaska. And of course, President Trump has traveled to Alaska as well to meet on a big morning here on a Friday.
All right, that's going to do it for us on this Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here
On Monday. Okay, I'll take it. It's mine.
One. This is one.
Oh, this is one.
Normally one.
I earned it today.
2, 3, which is
Okay.
weird because
So when they're all green, they're on.
you know what?
Obviously, this they're
yeah,
on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That means on.
I don't know.
Let me tell you. Oh, it just changed. I see.
Turn them all on. Right now they're all only.
Okay. Now my mic should be on, and the other two are off. Okay, got it. Now they're all on. Copy, and now I'm going to shut them all off. Got it.